Welcome to the Health Angle Podcast with Dr. Mike Headley and Dr. Gordon Fimwright, where we'll be exploring different angles of health to achieve the best version of yourself. Now here's your hosts, Dr. Mike and Dr. Gordon.
Hello everyone, welcome. I'm Dr. Mike. With me is Dr. Gordon Fimwright. Welcome, Gordy.
Hey Mike, welcome everybody. Today is going to be a good episode because in an unhappy world, we need some happiness, and I think Dr. Mike and myself are going to be able to give a lot of good tips and information on positive thinking, happiness, and gratitude. First, I want to ask you how you got started in this realm of positive thinking and happiness and positive psychology, gratitude, and everything else that goes with this subject.
You know, I think we started talking on our very first, one of our very first podcasts. We talked about goals. And in high school, my coaches taught me about goals and how to focus on what you want. And they might yell at me and in my face because I'm screwing up or not working as hard. But it was, they were positive I wasn't very good. No, they were positive that I could get better if I really applied. They got more out of me because they pushed me. And then I got the confidence and I was thinking positive, and that made me happy. And then I was grateful. So I think it all goes hand in hand. So in high school, I got a taste of it. And then I played college sports as well. And that's when I started hanging out with chiropractors and thinking I wanted to be a chiropractor. And I shadowed some of them, and I went to a Parker seminar, and they started blowing my mind because you see these really successful people, and they're just they're so happy and healthy and giving and loving and serving and sharing and just helping people by touching them with chiropractic, and then their communities and fundraisers and foundations. And so it started early in high school and just continued on, and it goes really hand in hand with chiropractic. So how about you, Dr. Gordy? Where did it start for you?
Well, I got this book as a graduation gift, and it was a book unlike I've ever read anything like it. It was called The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz. Basically a motivation book. Very self-motivating and up-thinking, how to really think big. And the 4 points that I really got out of it, I jotted them down just so I can share with the viewers what kind of mindset is into some of these positive thinking books. And when you believe something can be done, your mind will find a way to do it. Here's the second book. Give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Have patience, and remember most people are good people deep down. Give people beauty of grace. And then there's the Pygmalion effect. People rise to your expectation, which is really good. You see this in business climate. If you have a really good boss, he brings everybody up around them. And then I think you see that also in sports. You have one good leader, and everybody is just brought up to a higher level. So it's just a positive mindset. Another quote, ignore haters, change the subject, walk away, or simply not, or say, oh, I see it. And I find this too, there's a lot of negative thinking out there, and sometimes it's easy to get caught into that, and it's more difficult to just kind of walk away somehow. It's not being rude, but just giving to people that you resonate with. And then there's other people that were inspirational. I saw Mark Victor Hansen speak. He's the co-author of Chicken Soup for the Soul series. This is a book that has just motivating, inspiring stories. And you can sit down and it's just small stories that just uplift you. But he's also a self-help guru. This guy is so incredible. I actually bought his audio series. And then there's another book that I really enjoyed, and it's by Sean Archer. This guy was a researcher and lecturer at Harvard University. And this guy just really sums up everything. Happiness is not just a mood, it's a work ethic that you can control. Consistently scanning the world for positive allows us to experience happiness, gratitude, and optimism. And then also, when we reframe a failure as an opportunity for growth, we are more likely to experience that. And then the last quote from that book: the most successful people in work and in life believe that their actions have a direct effect on their outcomes. So it's just a wonderful. And then, of course, you got The Secret, The Law of Attraction. I thought that was an incredible book. And then The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. And this is a book that just stands. Bottom line, we must be able to change our perceptions. We change our perceptions, we change our life. And then the final book, and this is kind of a low-profile book. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but it's called The Passion Test. And it's by Bray and Chris Oakwood. And it just gives strategies to discovering your inner destiny. Yeah, what do you think, Mike?
You know, this topic, I keep trying to think, oh, what else are we going to talk about? We talked about what I thought was really, really critical, our trans fats and healthy cell membranes and the good fats versus bad fats. And then I thought, geez, inflammation, that's a really critical topic. But listen to this, Dr. Gordy. People who have higher levels of happiness tend to have longer life expectancies, and research supports the fact that happiness is significantly associated with lower mortality. So this is life-changing topic, just like setting a goal, just like improving your sleep, just like getting movement and exercise in your life. And so, much of the association between happiness and increased life expectancy could be explained by social demographic, lifestyle, and health and functioning factors, and especially psychological health and functioning factors as well. And simply put, happy people live longer because happy people are healthy people. And so that's why it's so important. What comes first, health or happiness? I don't know. You have to be healthy and happy to have a full, successful life, in my opinion. And so I have some really, really cool things. You mentioned that book. I want to give the readers probably just 3 sentences out of The Happiness Advantage by Sean Archer that summarize the book from my perspective. There are 70 years of evidence that our relationships with other people matter, and matter more than anything else in the world. Like food and air, we seem to need social relationships to thrive, right? Characteristic that distinguishes the happiest 10% from everybody else, the strength of their social relationships. And so during that class at Yale, there are questionnaires and there's surveys that you can take to get your happiness quotient or happiness score. So I suggest our listeners go online and search for a happiness score or a happiness quotient test or a survey and get your baseline happiness score. And I contest that we are as happy as the 5 people we hang around the most. And so if we hang around a bunch of happy and healthy people, that's going to rub off on our happiness and health, and they are intertwined. So I have one other sentence to summarize this book. One positive team person or person in a member of a group, one person using the happiness advantage, we'll talk about the strategies for that, can affect both the individual's attitudes and performance of those around him, as well as the dynamic and accomplishments of the group as a whole. So one person can light up the room. One person can enter a meeting and change the whole healthy and wellness and happiness dynamic of that group. So always know that we can make a difference by just walking into a meeting, into a room, into dinner. We can make a massive difference just with our energy and our happiness and our attitude.
That's great, Mike. And I want to apologize to the viewers if we're hearing music in the background. I'm in a public space, and we have no internet in our personal residence yet, so we're working on it. We've just moved in just recently, so I got some beautiful plants and foliage behind us, which makes me happy, speaking of happiness. So, Mike, I have a whole list of items that I can go through. I tell you what I'll do is I'll start going through some of the list. I'll pass it over to you. In the middle of that list, and then I'll let you have at it. So I just wrote a list of just everything cumulative of things that I've either personally experienced or I've read about, or things that just resonate with me. So the first one is, and I always notice the happiest people are the most curious. Be curious, explore. Have you ever noticed a reporter? You can tell that a reporter who's really curious about their subject matter and the person they're talking to. It makes that interview so contagious and so much more fun to listen to. So I think if people just have more curiosity, I think that goes a long way. And then explore, that goes with the curious. Just explore and grow. We're always creatures of habit, and we always set ourselves to just doing the same things in our comfort zone. And what I always recommend is if you have the same commute every day to work, or your same walk on the weekends, get out of your way, get out of your comfort zone, do something different. It makes you happy, you're curious, you see a different pathway, a different thing, a different way to go to work. Just makes life just a little more easy, a little more fun. So, and I would say the same thing with the workouts. People do the same workouts over and over. And we talked about this in podcasts, all about workouts. It's not only good for muscle memory to switch it up, but also you got to switch it up just for your brain health. And it makes you happy doing different exercises in the gym. Just constantly be creative. You can work on the same exercise group. Just be creative and try different exercises for that same group of muscles, for example. And then, so having an attitude of gratitude. So I think too many people are in our society today that kind of have this, they're entitled. And having entitlement doesn't uplift everybody around you. It's kind of a selfish mindset. And I think if you switch that to just a gratitude, just be happy. And I know, Mike, you talked about journaling and writing down stuff, things that you really appreciate, love, enjoy. Write it down. I think it's a great habit to write down things that you're really appreciative for. Therefore, when you go through life and there is a challenge, you can resort back to what you wrote and go, oh, gosh, I'm just so peaceful. This is great. This is awesome. Also, try to live up to this kindness every day. What you give, you receive. The more you give, the more you receive. You hear that? I think, Mike, you and I are in gifted careers because we get to give quite a bit in our career, and it's really quite rewarding. It's really a good feedback mechanism. I think everybody can find something in their life to just give. And I challenge everybody who's listening, the next person you run into that you don't know, just give them a smile as you're going by, just give them a nod and smile. And you'll more than likely get a nod and smile back. It just opens up this inner energy. We're all connected somehow. It's kind of a fun experiment because you just smile and it just brightens your day and it brightens their day. I don't think we get enough interaction with the technology world. And then setting goals. We talked about this on our very first podcast. Write out your destination. Write out what you want to accomplish. If you think it, you will become it. That your mind will make it happen. This is something that I talked about in our earlier podcast. Sometimes we all have challenges in our lives, something that can happen, or a circumstance, or an argument with a spouse or a loved one. And sometimes we don't know how to handle this. It gives you a lot of unhappiness and stress, at least for the short term. And I always recommend grab that circumstance, write that circumstance out, write a solution, a pro and a con for that solution, and write out all the different scenarios, pros and cons, and then let it go. You have it on paper now, you can put it out of your mind and out of sight. Sleep on it and look at it later on in the day. And it's really surprising how your mind will find a solution for those problems. And it'll just make a natural course. And that way you just don't keep thinking about it. And then also write three things that happened to you today that really uplifted your spirits. And at first, throughout the course of the day, you're like, I don't know what happened to me that was positive. But pretty soon, you'll start noticing all the positive things, and you'll filter out the negative things. And all that does is just opens up the pathways for more positivity because you're recognizing them, you're letting them in, and all the negative stuff is suppressed. And it's just an awesome way to go through. your existence on a daily basis. So that's half my list. Dr. Mike, how about you? What do you got for us?
You mentioned early, Dr. Gordy, about the science of well-being or the science of happiness class at Yale. So I'm proud to say that I passed the class at Yale, and I took that class online. As a side note, I'm taking a class from MIT, and I don't know how I'm allowed to do that because they only accept 6% of their applicants. But I'm taking a class from MIT. I'll let you know how that goes if I pass that class too. So during the class at Yale, we had to measure our happiness score or happiness quotient. So you can find those tests for free online. And if you want to take this course from Yale, you just go to Coursera, or you can go to the creator of the course, DrLaurieSantos, Dr. Laurie Santos.com, and then you can take the course. And it's really, really cool. It's really fun. It's not a gimme course. You have to study and read and take quizzes and watch videos. So I thought it was really good, but I wanted to review the 7 or 8 things that they discovered with science that made people happier and healthier. And before they started this class, they interview all freshmen at Yale and ask them what will make their experience at Yale very positive and what will make them happy if these 4 or 5 or 6 things occur during your 4-year stint at Yale. So the majority of freshman students at Yale said that they would be happy at the end of their 4 years if they got a great job, if they made a lot of money, if they accumulated a lot of fun stuff, material things, if they found their true love, if they had the perfect body, and they had perfect grades, all A's, then their life would be complete and they would be happy. And so they go, oh, well, let's see what the science says. Let's enroll every freshman into the class and see what truly makes people happy. And here's what it is. Number 1 is savoring. Savoring is the act of stepping outside of an experience to review and appreciate it. If you're going to have 12 pieces of pizza, maybe just take that first one and savor every bite and really enjoy it. And you can savor looking out the window or at a lake or at a beach and just savor the view and the air and the smell. And so savoring is just stopping to smell the roses in my simple explanation. And that's really, really neat to really slow down and observe and experience things. Number 2 is daily gratitude journal. That's nothing new with people in this space and read a lot. Number 3 is random acts of kindness. It doesn't take much to open the door, write an email, send a text, send someone a card, buy someone a cup of coffee behind you in line or something like that. So number 5, social connection. I mentioned from the happiness advantage how important our social network can be. Only 1 or 2 people. It doesn't have to be 100 people. Exercise, number 6, really critical. Number 7, sleep. Number 8, meditation. Number 9, gratitude letter or visit, meaning you write a letter and mail it or send it, email to someone you're very grateful for, or just go visit with them knee to knee, have a cup of coffee with them, and just tell them how much they mean to you. And as a side note, Dr. Gordy, I did this with a few different people, and I like to send notes to authors if I really, really like their book. And it's not like a mom or a dad telling them how grateful we are, but it's still kind of fun to send letters like that. And then also coaches, teachers, professors, I've sent letters to, and it really, really made them feel appreciated and all the hard work they go into, especially like high school coaches that maybe didn't get paid a lot. And then all of a sudden 10, 20, 30 years later, they're getting a note, and how that shaped my life and how that motivated me, and how, that wanted me to push and strive and set goals. And so gratitude letter and gratitude visit was a really profound lesson in that class at Yale. And one last thing about that is their challenge at the end of the course is to pick one of those habits and really set a goal where you can do it daily or weekly or in a routine for 4 weeks. So pick one habit that you can really concentrate on, whether it's a random act of kindness, and then they give you a handout that you can write in there and check off the list to make sure you did that. And if you missed a day, that's okay. But at the end of 4 weeks, how many days did you do random acts of kindness? How many days did you do the daily gratitude journal? And that was really, really neat. And statistics and research shows that when you do that and track your results, that's what creates long-standing well-being, happiness, and improved health. And so that's not my complete list, but that was that was a really, really fun college course that anyone can take.
Mike, you introduced that to me, the Science of Wellbeing Yale course. I recommend that the audience watching this type it in the search engine, find it, and take the course. You have to be consistent with it, but what I found really interesting is I didn't have a lot of courses online, and it is very sophisticated. It's engaging, it's sophisticated, there's interviews, it covers a whole spectrum of wellness, and I think a lot of people will be pleasantly surprised what it covers. And some of the interviews I found fascinating. There was a professor in Chicago that rode the train, meeting people, left his cell phone, got rid of it, and he ended up being forced to meeting more people and found it very uplifting. And so there's this old proverb, it's early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, won't be wise. And then, of course, there's a revision to that early to bed, early to rise, work like hell in advertisements, wise. Again, just, doing healthy things, going to bed early, getting up early, being constructive, working hard, that makes you, live a more gratitude, healthy life. Some of the small things that people might not think of that brings health to your mind: clean your emails out, clean the clutter out of your homes or at work, do some spring cleaning, do something that just frees the mind. I think a lot of people, there's this underlying stress. Oh, my house is getting dirty, or my office, I need to do this. I need to finish that, and you just don't do it, and it ends up being kind of a background stress. So clean things out. Hobbies. I don't think enough people have enough hobbies and outside interests that they pursue and really try to be the best at them. And I think some of the people are so focused on their work that they get home and they just watch TV and they let those interests and those hobbies go. I think people need to engage, and you need to go out of your way to join a club. I think euchre league, awesome. Go to the sports and social league in your area and just get involved. It's great socially. It's great. It makes you feel happy. It's healthy. It's a way to connect. My grandmother was 105. I actually wrote about her in the intro of my book, 15 Steps to Healthy Living. And one of the things she did is every time she went to church, which, by the way, was a spiritual uplift and social outlet for her, every time she'd go, she'd have a book. And she'd sit in a different place every time to give a book out. And it was a way for her to keep active and keep that kind of that social connection with people. And I thought that was brilliant. I think as people mature and they get older, your social circles kind of decline a little bit. And I think that there's ways you can increase them. She's in her hundreds giving a book out, sitting in a different place in church, meeting new people. Start a blog or a podcast. Dr. Mike called me, I don't know, 5-6 weeks ago and said, hey, do you want to do a podcast? And I thought, wow, I never really considered it. I thought maybe. And I thought about it, and I go, oh, wow, that's good. I mean, the podcast is phenomenal. You get to learn stuff more than you already know by kind of doing a little study for the podcast. You get to share what you already learned and have going on from past experiences and help your arena, and then share it in a podcast. So if you have an interest, start a podcast with your interest level. And I started a blog. I have a personal blog and blog for work. And I do different health subjects on my blog, and it's kind of rewarding. Exercise, one of my favorites. It is really critical to have a healthy mind, is to have a healthy body, and vice versa. And I always believe the concept of consistency is more important than intensity. If you're consistent with everything you do in life that you want to accomplish, just being consistent is more important than going all out and burn yourself out, and then you just don't do it. So consistency, start small and big. And then go through old photos, reminisce. Mike was talking about savoring. It's great. I love that. But you can also go through old photos, savor, reminisce. It brings you happiness. I think a lot of people take all those photos and they forget about them. Just don't go through them again. And then these self-help books, they are so inspiring. There's so many out there. The United States is one of the coolest countries because I don't know how many other countries have self-help books. I don't think you're going to find too many in North Korea or China or even Russia for that matter. But the United States has just opened up, and it's probably the leader in these type of books. So try to aspire to one book a month, or one every other month, or one once every 6 months. Just read some self-help books if you haven't been exposed to them. And then listen to your favorite genre of music. If there's something that you really love, listen to it. I know I go to Pandora. It's a website that has, you just type in the name of the artist, the singer, or the song, and all you'll get is music in that kind of genre. And when I do my finances, I always put on, like, I hate to say it, but it's like a Josh Groban type of music, or kind of a little bit of opera style, the tenors, and it just kind of relaxes me as I'm doing my bookkeeping finances. And I think everybody has their go-to music that just calms the spirit. Start having nutritional smoothies. I started this not too long ago, but a couple of years ago, where I consistently made one every morning. And I loved it because I felt like I was getting my cauliflower, spinach, beets, and all these fruits and other vegetables on a daily basis. So that felt good. I felt like it was healthy, probably the healthiest breakfast I've ever had. And I just continued and I evolved. Now I know exactly what I like. I switch it up once in a while so I don't get bored. But I encourage our viewers, just start a regimen where you're just trying different smoothies. Start simple and just add on to it. Yeah, just think healthy, be healthy with every meal. Think of how you can optimize your health potential. I mean, the body, mind, soul, spirit. You got to look and feel good, of course, but ultimately your body, mind, and soul needs to be fed. So try to look for everything in your life that optimizes your health potential. Get in the sun, find nature, get out there and enjoy. I think that not enough people enjoy a little sun out, a little nature, and go for these little nature walks. So, Mike, what do you got?
Here's a few other books to look at. Happiness Project. Stumbling on Happiness was a really, really good book. 10% Happier. And the last one, Broadcasting Happiness. So Gordy is right. There's so many books on happiness and self-help that I think you just need to dive in and grab one. They're all really, really, really good. The International Day of Happiness, Dr. Gordy, takes place on March 20th each year to spread awareness that happiness is a fundamental human goal. In 2024, it also marked the day the World Happiness Report was released. Any idea what the happiest country is?
It would be something like Sweden, maybe?
It included the happiest rankings of 39 countries based on 6 factors: social support, income, health, freedom, generosity, and the absence of corruption. Finland was number 1, but also Denmark, Iceland, Sweden, and Israel. And so what's really interesting is about that is Finns reconnect with nature, and a common theme, like you said, get out in nature. And, Americans spend up to 92% of their time inside. And so nature connectedness is just one of the antidotes for anxiety and depression and mental illness. And actually, people that spend more time in nature take less medications for depression. So here's a little formula for nature: 20, 5, and 3. Okay, it suggests 20 minutes a day of being outside in a park-like setting. That's doable. In the winter, it's maybe more challenging. 5 hours a month in a semi-wild area with more nature and fewer signs of people. And then 3 days a year in a wilderness area where nature dominates. There's few signs of human influence. So 25 and 3, try that to see. And I'm just going to race through some of these other happiness hacks, and then I'll give you your challenge. So you manage your finances and live within your means. You set and reach goals. You always make time for trips or vacations with family and friends. You use your strengths to do what you do best. You feel safe and secure in your community. You learn something new or interesting every day. You have someone in your life who encourages you to be healthy. You eat healthy every day. You eat 5 servings of fruits and vegetables at least 4 days a week. You go to the dentist at least once per year. You don't smoke. You're of normal health and weight. You exercise at least 30 minutes, at least 3 days a week. You're active and productive every day. Anticipate everyday occurrences. Break out of automatic mode. Do something spontaneous. Get outside your comfort zone. Avoid mental pitfalls. Savor moments of anticipation. I talked about savoring things earlier, but just when you have something on your calendar and you're planning it and you're anticipating it, that brings a lot of joy and happiness to people. Treat yourself once in a while. Do you want to go out and have a special meal? Do you want to buy a new t-shirt? Do you want to get a new pen for your journal? Treat yourself, because that will create happiness and well-being. Write down your plans. Plans are really critical, so then you can have less stress in your mind. Keep a joy journal and a gratitude journal, and we've talked about that multiple times. Schedule your physical movement and your exercise so it gets done, because that is so critical, as Dr. Gordy mentioned early. Maybe try meal planning. Make a date with a friend and have a cup of coffee or go out for lunch and just make the plan so it gets done. Cherish the beauty of nature. In northern Minnesota, I'm looking out my window. The grass is finally starting to look green and buds are coming on trees. So I'm really anticipating things really blossoming and blooming and the tulips coming up and cherishing the beauty of that. Unleash your creativity, whether you're an artist or a musician, or you want to learn art or draw or do crossword puzzles or do a puzzle. Expand your horizons. Take a class. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm taking a class from NIT just because I can, and I've always wanted to keep learning and take educational classes from higher educational institutes. Find happiness and joy in others. I watched American Idol the other day, and I just got excited because I'm not musical, and I was just excited that they're so good and they were so exciting. That was really, really fun for me. The Final Four or Super Bowl or whatever. I get excited when people get excited. I'm happy for champions and winners. And then make time for silence, Dr. Gordy, whether it's in nature, put on noise canceling headphones in the coffee shop, or just go out in nature or meditate and just be quiet. And you said about music, how that's really important. I say rock out and jam out and get the music going, but then also have silence and quiet. So that rounds off my list.
That's great, Mike. Love that list. And I'm going to just conclude mine. And know your vices. I think it's important to know what's challenging. Work on it. Eliminate them. Work on eliminating them. Spend more time with people that you resonate with, and less time with people that you do not. I know that's tough, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. And then there's social media, the science of well-being that course that Dr. Mike and I took. They talk about social media and how that can be just so disruptive and make people very unhappy. And so I would try to eliminate as much social media as you can. And basically live your life, not try to take in someone else's life. And then minimize or stop reading or listening to news. Now, sometimes it's hard to eliminate everything, but I know I go through fasts. Just like we talked about previous podcasts, that eating, sometimes you just got to take a fast and do the fasting of your diet once in a while. And I call this the news fast. So I just take a break from it when I just it gets so intense, enough is enough. And then just dress up. Doesn't that feel good? Get a nice haircut, dress up. Just little feel good things. Talk about, Mike, be saying, being spontaneous. This would be a good way to do it. Be spontaneous and just dress up. Road trips. You can go on any search engine right now in your area and look for the top road trip destinations, day trip or weekend trip in your area, and make it happen. Go into these day trips. Sometimes there's hidden places to go to. Talk about bringing, high level or fun into your life and doing that. Walk in the new neighborhood. Go on your way to go to a different new one or a different restaurant. Buy groceries from a different health food store. And then finally, get your sleep. 8 hours of sleep. You got to be fresh. And that pretty much concludes my list. And Dr. Mike, you were talking about Finland. I had actually been up there in one of the happiest countries in the world. And I remember walking outside some of the school yards, and they'd have hundreds of bikes just all around. People would be riding their bike or walking to work, and they didn't even lock them up. They had these really cheap locks if they did have a lock. People just didn't lock them up. And it seemed like a very happy country to me. So pretty fun.
I end our podcast with, what's one takeaway that you can share with a family member today or tomorrow that you learned or relearned from this podcast? And then what's your number one action step that you're going to do today, and write down one way to improve your happiness?
That's great, Mike. Awesome. We appreciate the viewers. Please like our content, follow our content, please comment, and we always appreciate it. Next week, we have an interview. This will be our first interview on the podcast. Mike, go ahead and introduce our guest.
Yeah, our guest is going to be Janae Leach, and she works with women mostly, but on eating and eating disorders and health and well-being. She's certified a yoga instructor, so it's going to be really exciting to pick her brain in how to improve your health and well-being. She is a master at interpreting lab results and finding the true cause of people's underlying issues. So it'll be really fun to talk with her next week on how she helps her clients, and then what we can share with our listeners too, Dr. Gordy.
So I just want to thank the viewers. Please subscribe, please like, and we will see you next week for another exciting episode. So,
Thank you for joining us on the Health Angle Podcast. Please subscribe to our channel and catch us for our next episode.